left religion, Christianity, and fundamentalist churches, I realized that there is no scientific evidence whatsoever that any biblical miracles occurred. Now, don't get me wrong, there are historical events that are mentioned in the Bible or places in the Bible that do exist. But that doesn't make something any more divine than any textbook available in any library. Just because Athens and Jerusalem exist doesn't mean a book is divine. And it also doesn't prove that anybody was resurrected from the dead or was born without a father. Something a lot of religious people forget: belief isn't fact. And for some reason, my fundamentalist Christian family can't or won't understand the difference. Believing in something doesn't make it true. There are many people out there that believe in aliens and that the world is flat, but it doesn't make it true. There are no scientific proofs or evidence that any biblical miracles or any divine biblical events happened. There is evidence that certain things in the Bible happen, but there's nothing about any divine or supernatural involvement recorded. It just doesn't exist. And for some reason, Christians just don't want to see the difference. There's nothing wrong with believing in something, but belief doesn't make something factual, something that can be trusted, or is anything beyond a theory or an assumption. And a lot of the people mentioned in the Bible have never been proven to have existed. There are a few people mentioned in the Bible that we can prove existed based on historical records and documents from specific people and empires. But that doesn't mean that that person had some divine influence fixing or changing history. Sure, there's documentation of Jewish slavery in Egypt, but that does not mean that there was any God involved, unless you are talking about the polytheistic Egyptian religion. And sure, there is documentation that people like Esther and Daniel existed. There's just no record that this person had some divine assistance or authority. And in my opinion, based on the things I've experienced or have educated myself about, there is no evidence that exists that anything supernatural exists. There's no evidence there's a God, angels, demons, heaven, hell, or anything that is not humanly possible. These things just don't happen. The only thing I think that does exist that we call divine is ethnicities, religions, and groups of people who think that what they want and their entitlement is so great. They think that some made-up God gives them authority and the right to have whatever they want. We call this colonialization, genocide, ethnic cleansing. Basically how America got started and how Africa got served. Just because you believe in a white man's God doesn't make you a divine race, special, God's chosen people. It doesn't mean anything. You're just one ethnicity. And every ethnicity is special, unique, and valuable. But that doesn't make any of them overly special. There is not a master race, a master ethnicity. And in my opinion, any religion or ideology or group that sees themselves as the chosen people, they can actually talk themselves out of accountability, and they can justify a lot of awful behavior. You look at the Jews in the ancient texts of the Bible. They justified ethnic cleansing, genocide, and the worst atrocities in human history by saying that God gave them the land. Of course, the white man, the pilgrims, the colonialists, the immigrants that came here and took things that didn't belong to them and killed people, they justified saying that their God and that their ethnicity was better than the indigenous creatures, better than any minority. When you don't have evidence that something is supernatural, you can have faith in it. You can honestly believe it exists, but unless you have statistical, scientific evidence and things that would hold up in court or in the medical field, that's not proof. And groups and ethnicities, since the dawn of time, have created the idea that if you're a specific master race, the elite of some empire, religion, and belief system, you can justify anything and call it divine intervention, divine promise, God's inheritance to certain groups of people. You can believe Allah gave it to you, God gave it to you, Hare Krishna gave it to you. But at the end of the day, if you take things that don't belong to you, that weren't given to you, and you've harmed, killed, destroyed, history will remember these groups of people for what they've done, not what they say. And in every ethnicity, every group, every ideology, there are bad people. And being a white person, I'm very much aware of the downright evil, sadistic way my ethnicity treated African Americans and every type of minority imaginable in America. They have never taken accountability. They've never changed the way they see the world. The UN hasn't even, in 2025, acknowledged that colonialization, regardless of what continent it happened in, is an utter act of depravity. If you don't have facts to back up anything that you believe, anything you think is real, it's not a fact. It's fiction. It's a belief. And you can believe whatever you want until it takes away people's rights, takes away their safety. And if it really makes the way you live and the people around you have a miserable existence, lose their lives, or be treated as second class, that's what I would classify as a hate ideology. And Christianity has always supported the most hateful groups in America. Ku Klux Klan, slavery, neo-Nazism, Moms for Liberty. And those are just a few of the modern or post-Civil War groups. Christianity, there's a reason why they call it the white man's religion. What the white man believes helps him justify whatever he wants to do. Luckily, a lot of groups and places in the world no longer see colonialization and manifest destiny as something good. Progress, yes, you have to break some eggs to create progress. But if you're taking what doesn't belong to you and using religion or some ideology, you're not a good person. And I live in a country that is 1/3 is Christian, and MAGA is always alive and well. Believe what you want, as long as it does not hurt, hinder, or terrorize other people. And I've had to learn the difference between what is fact, what is faith, and what is fantasy. And faith is just fantasy until it's proven. But that's not how religious people live. They believe that fantasy and faith is the same thing as the theory of relativity or the law of thermodynamics. Those things have been proven, at least to a certain point. Faith cannot be proven, because if there are facts to back it up and you can prove it, it's not really faith, is it? But faith isn't called fact. And when you have a group of people who call themselves Christians and can't tell the difference, or have no intention of seeing faith as anything but just fantasy, you have an environment where they will believe anything. And when 80% of these religious people haven't read the Bible, they will believe anything, even if it means drinking the Kool-Aid.